All right. Let's go. We've got Lambo in the top right here. We are casting one of the best matches from HomeStory Cup. When I say the best, I'm talking about the most interesting, the most unique, and of course the ones that have been highly recommended to me because it is showcasing people doing stuff on the new patch that's interesting. You can already see Lambo very diligently trying to boost his workers' mining. Down here in the bottom left side, we've got Team Liquid's SKillous. We'll see if he's doing the same thing here in this early stage. Looks like SKillous not bothering quite as much with that speed mining, just letting his workers mine relatively efficiently, and he's going to stack them up to make sure they are doubled. On the other side, Lambo goes for the extractor trick there. So this looks like 12 Overlord into extractor trick to get the 13, and this looks like the standard 12 Pylon Scout for SKillous. Now, for those who don't know, SKillous is the player who's been cooking. I partially want to make fun of Protoss players for being too lazy to figure out the new gateways. The other part of me says, realistically, warp gates have so many advantages that it makes perfect sense with limited time to practice for a tournament that almost every player just made warp gates like normal at this tournament. But SKillous is the player who had really clever usage between using gateways, using warp gates, and kind of going back and forth between the two based on the situation. He also had some really fun, cheesy attacks that he was mixing in. Just all things considered, I think SKillous had some cool ideas, and you could tell he was cooking on the new patch. So I'm curious to see what he did here against Lambo and how both players are going to interact. Lambo's gone up to 18 supply. So that was a 16 or 17 hatchery after getting blocked. He goes 18 gas, 17 pool. And that just shows he is absolutely not worried about any sort of early aggression. One has to wonder. I'm later today going to be watching. I know there was a few games with proxy gates versus Zerg. We'll be watching those later today and seeing how that plays out. Because I'm really wondering if people are going for such late gas pool timings, is there not room for you to have proxied a few gateways and run some zealots in? It does feel like it would be very hard for them to defend. We'd have to see. Hey Pig, I played against a Protoss today that refused to pay the warp gate tax. He was making units from gateways while floating 2k. The funny thing is, so at pro level, most people have the opposite. They don't have enough money, and when they are producing out of gateways, their gateways are idle like 60-70% of the time. They do produce very fast. Now, Harston did a little side-by-side with two gateways. One, he just basically turned into a warp gate and started warping in units exactly on cooldown constantly, which very few people do warp in instantly on cooldown, but so it's kind of like a unrealistic scenario, but you know, showing the if you play perfectly versus a gateway if you leave it in gateway form once the upgrade's done and just produce. And it took, I think, 3 cycles was the conclusion Arston took before it overtook the production. And that might sound like a long time, but 3 cycles is only 48 seconds on the new gateways. So it's under a minute. So it's about it, and that's the thing is like the disadvantage of waiting for warp gate production, non-warp gate gateways is it does take time to kick in, and they've got to rally from where those gateways are, which is why I'm often building gateways at my third base when I'm playing that style. And even then, even though I can see the clear advantages outside of defending early aggression with a bit more production without having to invest in as many gateways, it does feel like it's definitely a little more inflexible and a bit more defensively minded. Adept comes in there, only gets 1 drone and 1 Zerg. I mean, that's not too bad. You get a drone, at least that's something. But I think what I'd say is the real advantage of it is in the kind of early mid-game, when you're securing a third base in each matchup, a lot of Protoss players would be like, oh, I need 6 gateways to defend this or that attack. I often feel like with just 3 gateways constantly producing now, you can defend the third base very, very well. But to do so, you need to be constantly producing from early on, and that's something Protoss players aren't really used to. This is a style Estrella played for a long time, even without the gateway changes, where he would just have less warp gates but constantly warp in, whilst most Protoss players will build extra gateways and not use them unless they actually really need them. How often do we see a Protoss with 8 gateways get surprised by a big roach all-in, and they've only got 10 stalkers, despite having 8 gateways up for 2 minutes? And you think, wait, how's he only got 10 stalkers? He can warp these in every 25 seconds. But that is the way it goes, you know. Oh, 2 drones, 3 drones go down. The Adept's getting some nice damage here. I think that's a very good way. Very, very frustrating here. Lambo takes a few losses. And you can see, guys, that upgrade we're talking about, Warp Gate, is about to kick in. Now, that's going to give plus 40% production to these gateways without transforming. If he wants to transform, it's 25 minerals and 25 gas each. Third base is up. Zergling's coming into pressure, but the Oracle is there. Second Oracle's almost out. Obviously, the Oracle will have to use its laser beam, and indeed it does, but Lambo very quick to run away. Anticipated that, only loses a single Zergling. 42 drones on each side. So this is the point where you can see SKillous is like, okay, now these Adepts are building and just... Actually, they still take 20 seconds? Wait. Why do Adepts takes 20 seconds to build after Warp Gate? Is that because of the threat of Glaive Adepts? How does an Adept take 4 seconds longer than a Stalker to build, guys? How in the world is that fair? Stalker's I feel like a much better unit. That's crazy. They did get 3 seconds added to their build time, of course. I think they went from like 31 to 34 or something, or 33, something like that. But yeah, that feels very long. So I didn't realize that Adepts just took so much longer. So I guess a Stalker and a Zealot both build in like 27 seconds normally pre-Warp Gate, and an Adept builds in like 33, 6 seconds longer or something. That's crazy, man. That's so weird. Here come the Zerglings poking around, and little Adept sentry pressure with a probe. Oh, he sends the probe home. It's a fake. He was pretending to build a pylon on the front with that probe. He gets it spotted, and he immediately backs out of it, knowing he's already forced the response. Problem for SKillous, guys, is Lambo's just going to go for a big queen drop. He's got roaches on the way. They'll become Ravagers. He's got 52 drones. He's got his 4 gases. We know this setup very well. The Adepts come in, and they see what looks like a fully mining base, but it's the natural that's missing a lot of workers and infrastructure there. Sees a few roaches coming out. The Adept Shade does go in and see some more units. Sentries and Stalkers will take out a Speed Overlord. That's a big tell. That is a absolutely massive tell. He's got to be building cannons right now. Cannons will go down. Nice move there for SKillous. He's not got Warp Gates, remember, so he's got to just keep building units out of the gateways like normal. But these Stalkers build in just 16 seconds. An Immortal, on the other hand, just for context, takes 39 seconds to build. He's going to build another Oracle, which to me is absolutely insane. Obviously, Oracles can be useful versus Zerglings that sneak in, but yeah, definitely can be very dicey. The Oracles are going to guard from things flooding into the natural. Cannons are building there as well. Their cannons getting up is huge. Their damage output will be absolutely momentous. Where is that drop? It's 3 queens there. He's also got a little Zergling drop going around the south, but it feels like Lambo's been a little bit slow to get this all started. The Oracles take out a bunch of Zerglings. They're going to take out a Ravager as well. The Queens have not dropped yet. Lambo in real trouble right now. He does save a Reddit point Ravager. That was very nice micro for Lambo. But one of the Queens goes down already, and he's attacking up 2 narrow ramps into Cannons and Immortals. And that does not feel good. That Immortal does get caught. We are seeing some Biles land on the Cannon and the Oracle there, but it still feels pretty fantastic for SKillous. He doesn't even need to move out into the open. He's moving out there, but he should just stay on the high ground. Absolutely should stay on that high ground. He's got to be careful. He's moving out into the open. SKillous with some pretty big missteps there. Movement-wise, he can't be letting another Immortal get surrounded. SKillous with some big screw-ups, and Lambo's finding damage that should not exist. SKillous needs to pull back on both sides. He's got another Immortal, 2 Stalkers, and a Void Ray coming in. 4 more gateways are building. It looks like the Zergling drop in the main only killed 4 probes. Not too bad there, but he's lost all of his supporting units that were meant to fight with these cannons. And Lambo comes in. He's going to take down the cannons. You cannot... Oh my gosh. I can't believe this. SKillous, I think, had this in the bag, but he's just messed up his micro here. Obviously, the muscle memory is different. You're so used to defending this with warp-ins, and then you don't have that, and you can just get thrown out of your rhythm. And this is why a lot of people in StarCraft do not experiment early on in tournaments in high-pressure situations. He recalled accidentally to the wrong Nexus as well. The reason is it's so fast-paced and it's so easy to make mistakes. And you might feel confident with a build or a style, but then the moment you're dealing with a really fearsome all-in, all of your muscle memory from the old way of defending it kicks in. Suddenly you can't be warping in units, and kind of fumbled his Immortals on both sides of that. Walks into the open with a Sentry Stalker, and that's really unfortunate for SKillous, who he can defend his natural for days, but he needs to get that 3rd base back up because drones are coming 4th base as well here for Lambo. And the Void Rays and Oracles should have killed these Queens a little while ago, but he doesn't have much energy anymore, and SKillous is going to go across the map with the Oracles, which is a brave decision, but I think also a crazy decision. I think his Oracles should be trying to kill every Ravager right now. He's going to get caught outside. The Biles say no retreat for you. 1 Immortal goes down, a few Stalkers as well. The Oracles do come back, fly over the top of that. Zergling drop goes in the main. It does get cleaned, but it's just crazy that these 2 Queens are controlling space. There's 3 high-energy Oracles here, and they should have got rid of this a while ago. It's kind of funny because pro Protoss players are so good at not fighting the Queens, using the Oracles and Void Rays to deal with Ravagers, Zerglings that stumble in front. But one of the big problems we see is there are often these moments. We saw it in a hero game against Solar and Pigstarcraft this week, where there's a bunch of Queens there, and they're kind of like, okay, these queens are there. They're you know, there's not much energy, or there's very few queens. You could just zap them and overwhelm. But the Protoss player's brain is so occupied thinking about everything else and assuming, of course, you can't fight queens with just a few oracles. But missing the pattern recognition there, kind of a bummer, because now the creep gets spread out here. The Ravagers are able to maintain position. Roach speed's almost there. Hydra's on the way. 70 probes are up, and it does look like SKillous is going to be going down in game 1. Sipping my coffee here early in the series, guys. It's the first series I am casting today. Kind of unfortunate, but I think this is the price of experimentation, especially when it's defensive. Experimentation on the offense often gets rewarded a lot quicker, as opposed to experimentation on the defense. So I'm not 100% surprised by any means to see SKillous kind of fumbling in defense there a little bit. I think the extra production on those 2 gateways was giving him a very good stream of Stalkers. You can see how quickly he rebuilt so many of those Stalkers, but of course then did transform into Warp Gates eventually to get back in the comfort zone. He will be going forward as a counter all-in, 1 Immortal, 7 Sentries, 1 Void Ray, a pack of Stalkers and Slow Zealots. The Hydras are here, Groove Spines and Roach Speed kicking in at the perfect time. Biles landing across the front line. Remember, Biles no longer completely one-shot the force fields. They just remove half of the duration. And also, force fields turn red when they are below 50% duration now as well. Cool little modifier there, but a nice hold for Lambo. Can breathe a sigh of relief, because I thought his all-in sucked. No offense to Lambo. I think he would be like, man, oh, kind of got spotted coming across the map. The queens were late. I was running into mass cannon on both ramps. I can almost guarantee you Lambo feels like he just got away with murder winning that game. Because there was a point there. Those Immortals and Sentries stay on the high ground on both sides. You just let the Zerg hang on the low ground. Keep putting Stalkers, Immortals, Sentries. I don't think he ever manages to break these cannons on the right side. Definitely can't breach that ramp on the left. And it's going to be a really tough game for Lambo. But he takes game 1. GG, well played. All right, guys. Lambo in the top left side. SKillous in the bottom right. SKillous getting that chrono down right on time at about 6.5, 7 seconds. And Lambo, top left of Eternity's Edge. A bigger map, this one where SKillous is going to have a bit more room for that defensive setup. I think he was in a perfectly solid position in that last game. I think that's an easy hold normally, but every Immortal you lose is just so valuable. They're such tanky units, and you really need to just keep them alive and stutter step them. And it's always a little awkward when you got a micro on both sides like that, but you really do just have to let the Protoss, the Zerg, sorry, control the space outside of your base. And SKillous will be kicking himself for that one. Lambo's Zergling drop didn't kill many probes. It distracted, though. And I think that's a big part of why SKillous was looking away and lost one of the Immortals. The other one was kind of just a big mistake, though. Chronoing on the probes. And, of course, this guy comes in, forces that third base. Someone was pointing out in chat just before, we were talking about, like, oh, proxy gate. Like, how are they going to proxy gate and have a probe blocking? I don't care if they've taken the third or not. I just want to see, because people, no matter what, are going 17 supply pool gas, or sometimes 18 supply, and you could proxy gateway against it, right? So that's a big thing. One of the really weird things about this patch is how they you know, scouting is way more expensive for Terran and Protoss on this patch, but the Zerg players, they initially massively slowed the Overlord down to a kind of crazy amount, which was a bit wild. But then they just gave it back, and it's like almost as fast as it was on the 12-worker start, to the point where it does feel like there's quite a bit of asymmetry there, combined with the fact that the current map pool actually has a lot of these Overlord pillars, which I'm not the biggest fan of myself, being a little free high ground next to the natural, seeing the entrance. It does give Zerg like a bit of an advantage there. There's so many things going on in this new season that are hard to tally up and see what's affecting what. So many odd and interesting little things. Of course, SKillous hasn't used the forward hidden pylons yet. I think those can be very effective, and I think if you're playing a good defensive gateway production style, well, problem is that's a bit too defensive. Lambo might be exceptionally greedy and go mutas this game, so if you can hit him with some sort of warp gate timing, hide a pylon down here on the edge of the map, warp in a bunch of Adepts or Zealots and just go, it can still be very powerful, even though you've got to pay that warp gate tax of 25 minerals, 25 gas. If you're doing, say, a 6 gate, a very committed adept pressure, that's 300, 150 minerals and 150 gas. Which adds up. It's 300 resources. It's not nothing, especially for the gas. Zergling poking around. Adept does shade forwards across the map. Stargate's on the way. Standard opening. Extra chrono here for SKillous to try and block the Zergling scout, but looks like he won't even bother. He's just going to go across the map, which is fair enough. He wants to put pressure on as hard as possible. Lambo's only got 4 Zerglings and 2 Queens. This Adept could commit into the main. There's not many Zerglings around. 2 more pairs are making, but they ain't ready yet, and that's a good commit. I like this commit here, but Lambo's micro. Lambo's micro is very good so far. Yeah, very nicely done. And what do you get? A Zergling for your troubles? All that work, all those hit points, you get 2 Zerglings in total in this early game. One of those, of course, going down, I believe, in the main base. Didn't manage to kill any probes, though. Distracted SKillous, and he's accidentally pulled a worker off gas because of the distraction. Keep in mind, there was mining time. The spores do have to get built and cancelled. This all costs money, and he's not done yet. But the Lings get the wraparound, and it's just 1 or 2 more drones. So lots of mining time losses, but not too much direct damage. And Lambo very happy to regain map control after this start. He's got an Oracle on the way. We've got a few gateways there. Probe moving out to take the 3rd base. Oh, my lord. That Adept looked like it got pushed out of the wall at first. I was like, there's no way a probe's pushing it that far. Then I realized it was actually... Oh, geez. Okay, there's an Oracle there. It's fine. Yeah. Doors open. Oracle says, nah. You ain't going to get too much done. Adept is well positioned at the 3rd. Probe can hide behind the Adept. Oh, nice micro. Very good micro there for SKillous. He mineral walks it to hide it in the pocket. Stalker comes out, cleans up that Zergling, and of course the Oracle and the Stalker can clear the pillar up. This Adept cleaning those Zerglings up. Lambo getting a little wasteful now for the first time in this series. And of course he's starting Spore Crawlers behind this. But you know what I love? He delayed the Spores. This is a Lambo special. Very few, even top Zergs will do this. Where if you have Zergling map control, so if the Protoss throws their Adepts away, guys, this is a really high level thing, which most pros don't do. But Lambo does because he's one of the smartest and most flexible. He might not be the best multitasker, but my god is he smart. And he's got all these little triggers and prepared things. So what happened is because he killed the Adepts and he knew his Lings could keep the Oracles at home, he delayed his Spore Crawlers by an extra minute. That's an extra minute where those 3 drones are mining, where the minerals that would have gone towards the spores were building more drones, and that's why he's got this massive economic advantage. He also stayed on just 3 queens. Now he's going to 5 queens, and he's actually skipped the spore in the 3rd, which is just greedy. Oh, he's so lucky SKillous doesn't know that. SKillous thinks there's a spore there. He could have just gone right past and killed 10 drones. It was perfect until he skipped the 3rd spore. If he had the 3rd spore up, I'd say it's a perfect reaction. As it is, Lambo, a mixture of very nice reaction combined with a little bit of luck, gets him to a solid lead. Still up 12 workers in this game. SKillous, he's trying to probe his 3rd, but he's supply blocked right now. He's making a whole bunch of Adepts here and sentries for a little bit of a funky pressure, and he desperately needs to do damage with this because he's in an awkward spot. He's got 6 gateways, but they're not warp gates. Oh my gosh, is he about to transform them? He is. He's going to build a pylon on the front. The Zerglings come forward. The Oracle does push it back for now. There's no roaches out. It's 63 drones to 14-9. But it's only 6 gateways. So I do wonder, are we going to see Stalker warp-ins? I think it's going to be Stalkers, then Zealots. I think he's going to warp in 6 Stalkers over here. Warp in another pylon on the front. Remember, you can get fast pylon warp-ins no matter what now. Yeah, 6 Stalkers on the front. Really nice. He's got a whole bunch of force fields built up. Very cute pressure here for SKillous. Stasis traps going down as well. The Roachling comes forward. One of the sentries gets surrounded by the Zerglings. That really is unfortunate for SKillous. These units on the top left, killing some queens, force fielding a few of those roaches. The Lings do poke in and out. I think it's going to be a Zealot warp in now on this one. We'll see. He should be ready to warp in. He's got the money, but he's not casting it right now. It's been more than 20 seconds, that's for sure, but he's waited a bit too long, has he? There we go. 6 Adepts are going to come in fact. The drone's trying to evacuate. No chance to build Ravagers here. The Stalker count out of control. SKillous shoving in with reckless abandon and realizing just the power of those fast warp-ins off those pylons, something Christian has shown us a ton over the last couple of weeks. A few of the players who are a bit more out there with their gambles have shown us the power of those fast pylon warp-ins, but a guy who has been so defensive as SKillous sitting there, using the faster gateways, stuck on his 3 base, stuck in a defensive stance. I think he's realized I can't just be so obviously defensive, taking advantage of that post-warp gate production increase, and I think that's really smart. I think that's very smart that he's mixed in a timing attack here, because remember, he cut at 49 probes. His 3rd was fake. He even chronoed the Nexus without building probes to try and convince Lambo that this was indeed an economic play. The Biles are coming down, but pretty good dodges so far on those. The Adepts and the Stalkers doing all right here. The Roach Ravager count's just not that high, and the Protoss units are moving forward. But you got to be really careful because the Zerglings can cause real problems. The Oracles are going to take out the Queen. The Stalker's trying to micro back. You want the Adepts hitting the Zerglings. The Stalker's taking out the Roaches. Unfortunately, the Stalkers are getting overwhelmed, and it does look like Lambo might just barely be able to hold on. But the Oracles almost taking out these Ravagers. I feel like focusing that Ravager would be lovely. Biles are landing on top. That last Oracle refuses to run out of energy. It finally runs out of energy. That red hit point Ravager finally gets focused. Lambo does not have the numbers. He's already lost about 25 drones here. And SKillous with a very cute 6-gate attack off of, was it a double Oracle originally, and then he just built a third? I think it was. And just squeezing in those sentries. They all had, I think, about 100 energy, maybe a little higher than that. And those force fields can be really powerful, especially now. Even if they have Ravagers, they don't break the force field. So you've got so many bonuses SKillous is using all at once here. You've got, okay, now you don't need a gateway for fast pylon warping. Okay, awesome. Also, you've got energy recharge, good with the oracles, potentially good with the sentries. I'm not sure if the energy recharged a sentry on the way across the map. But then, of course, last but not least, you've got the sentry force fields. Do not get one shot by force fields. All it does is knock half of their duration off, which is just a cool change. Obviously, it's not a huge change. Oh my gosh, where's the spore? There's no spore in that base. SKillous has missed multiple wide open mineral lines this game. The spore just moved to the third. He could have killed 20 drones there, man. There's no queens alive. Lambo is completely dead, man. But SKillous just was, I think, busy looking at his macro or something like that. Alright, Probes fighting the Zerglings. Roaches, Ravagers trying to hold on here. Oh, barely popping out. Getting the instant heal. Stalkers eating some big biles there. Would like to see SKillous move those Stalkers forward a little bit. Great force fields on the south side. Traps a bunch of these Ravagers. And I think another few force fields trapping him in the mineral line would be excellent. Yeah, drones going down. Oracles are zapping. That's 4 Oracles now as well. Knowing that Mass Zergling could be a problem, SKillous is going to tie up the Series 1 tournament. So this is a really interesting push, guys. Obviously, this needs to get a massive reaction out of Zerg. I imagine there's a version of this that isn't as committed. But yeah, you can see he built quite a few sentries here. I imagine there's a version where you poke forward, especially if people know you do this. I think what you do is you build 4 sentries like this and you pretend you're doing it, but you're actually probing the whole time. That would be an extra variation you do, and you don't even need to make warp gates. But you still show the probe come forward to build a pylon. Remember, he showed a probe coming forward in game 1 as well. So I think SKillous is kind of like always threatening this move just by default, which is actually really smart. I think he's always threatening this, but then you don't know how committed he's going to be. This was massively committed, because this wasn't just no Twilight, no Forge, guys. He wasn't probe scout. He wasn't probing at all. So he's got no splash damage, 0 tech. Like, this is a full send. But you could do this as a light pressure. You could even build a pylon, have 3 or 4 gateways, just warp in a few Adepts or Stalkers and stuff, and like just try to force a lot of Ravagers. Because if you think about it, what does Zerg want? Zerg wants to stop at like 50, 50, 55 drones, get Ravagers out off their gases as quickly as possible. For Zerg, that's always hard. The question you're asking of Zerg is because if you look at a Zerg at about 5.5 minutes, and you're thinking, well, where does the Zerg gas want to go? They're like, I want to start a lair. All they've made is link speed so far. They've only got 130 extra. So I want to make a lair. I want to get my 3 mineral lines full before even thinking about anything else. You've made multiple oracles, so I want to make spore crawlers and queens, which remember, Lambo was greedy. He was ahead. He was ahead of being greedy, and the oracles didn't punish him for it. But, you know, it's like, oh, I'll take a 2nd gas. Oh, I guess I'll steadily take a 3rd and a 4th gas. But you can see he's so mineral focused. Like, Lambo's trying to be as greedy as possible. Why? Because he wants a 4th. He wants to drone really hard. And you can see we're getting close to 6 minutes. This attack hits at like 6:30, doesn't it? 6:45, something like that. And he's building an Evo. He's only now getting his extra gases. So he's only on 2 gas this whole time. And when the attack is moving across the map, how much gas does he really have available? He's got 4 Roaches just built. He's only got 250 gas to choose from. So the thing is, it kind of like demands that the Zerg have a bit more gas earlier and actually delay the minerals and maybe delay the 4th if they want to be 100% safe versus this sort of move. It demands a little bit more default safety from the Zerg, and it punishes this sort of extreme greed. So you can also imagine that there's quite a bit of flexibility in terms of, like I said, oh, you've only got 2 gateways warping. You still show the pylons, show the same move out, but you don't have these 4 gateways in the back if they haven't scouted. And remember, he denied the Overlord here on the pillar. So there is no scout. Lambo has no idea what's going on inside that base. It's a he saw the Stargate with the Zergling at the very start, and that was it. So yeah, I think this is quite clever. There could be a Twilight and a Forge going. You could be probing the third. I think there's a bit of a dance where the easiest way to check is if the Zerglings are poking in and they see you're not probing your third. But I think Protoss can easily transfer fake probes to the third. I think a lot of Protoss players, you'll see Harstem do this all the time. If he's doing an all-in and he sees the enemy coming with a unit, he'll purposely start probes on this base, maybe even drop a chrono on it before cleaning the scout up, just to sell the story. So there's going to be a bit of mind games and a dance there. But either way, cool opening. This is the full send of the pressure. And just to benchmark it really quickly so we have an idea, it's kind of interesting because like his first warp in, it didn't feel like it was that early. It only gets here at like 6:45, but his actual units were in there at about, what, 6:30? Yeah, 6:30, he gets there with 4 sentries, 3 adepts, 2 stalkers, 2 oracles. Then he's got 6 stalkers coming in from behind. I actually think he was a little late on this warp in. I think SKillous does look a little excited today. I feel like he doesn't look quite as mechanically crisp as I've seen from SKillous in the past. But it ties up the series 1-1. All right, guys, Lambo in the bottom right side of the map. SKillous in the top left side. It's SKillous versus Lambo PvZ game 3. And SKillous has got a bit of respect out of Lambo there. Lambo had a lovely greedy opening. So I think he's probably kicking himself, realizing how all in that was. And he's like, damn it. If I just had a few units for safety, just a couple roaches out ahead of time, that's an easy hold probably. But he was a little too greedy. Got caught off guard. Now we'll see how it goes. SKillous, of course, is doing the very standard opening, guys. 12 pylon with a 6-second chrono into a 14 gate. And behind that, going to drop another chrono instantly here on 50 energy. Yeah, just optimal. Now, a real pro gamer, unlike SKillous, who's a bit of a noob, guys, would have sent a second probe by now. And then it would come out of the fog and bam, pylon goes down. Checkmate. Can you even imagine, guys? Unironically, there is a noob killer strat where you do that. What would you guys say is the MMR cutoff? I'm curious, everyone in the comments, in the chat, where that stops being a good move. I think it's like 4,000 plus, maybe even higher. I think there's like a point where Zergs, if a second probe is there blocking their second attempt at an expansion, does this cost an insane amount from Protoss? Yes. Is it bad on paper? Yes. But I think the psychic damage is so worth it. I could even probably make that work at a really high success rate at like 5.3, 5.4k MMR, I think. Just because I think the first time people play against it, they're going to be so shocked. They're going to go, ah, what? And then they try to go back. You've built a pylon here. Your other probe has moved there. And there's a very simple answer to it, which is all you need to do is build the hatchery next to the pylon, which sounds inefficient. But if your opponent sent 2 probes across, you can just build a hatchery here, start long distance mining. And once the pylon and the probe's gone, you just build another hatchery next to it. And that sounds bad, but it actually costs you less than it does for them to send 2 probes across and build multiple pylons and screw up their entire early income. But a lot of players, you know, back in the early days of Wings, that's something we figured out was like, oh, if someone, you know, is really obsessed with blocking your bases, just build a hatchery like off to the side and it's fine. It's still a production facility. And as a Zerg, you just need production. You can use that production to drone up quicker once the hatchery's down. But it's really hilarious. But couldn't you just leave a bit earlier with the probe, put a pylon in the third, and then block the natural with the probe? Well, there's usually 2 third bases, so the problem is you can't block both. Yeah. So you could come early, block it, but then you'd need to go put another pylon on the third and get to the 4th before their drone gets there. Which is why that'd be pretty hard. I think it's pretty bad either way, as you can tell from just the crazy amount of investment to stop the Zerg from expanding, right? We can kind of tell that that's ridiculous. But, yeah. Step coming forward. Hatchery's there. Protoss with 8 workers start is already doing psychic damage, Pig, because you can't stop them. You literally can't stop them from blocking anymore. Yeah. That being said, 10 pool apparently is really good. Apparently even the top Protoss players are struggling with 10 pool because it disrupts their opening so hard. Also notice Lambo didn't... ooh, hold on. Here come the adepts. Ooh, how many Zerglings? And a drone. Oh, and he cancels. He gets even more. Oh, Lambo's going to be kicking himself for going back there. He thought that shade was going to complete. played against his expectation of what was going to happen, not what actually happened. Massive mining time, 3 drones, 4 Zerglings. Excellent start here for SKillous. And the Oracle will be able to secure that 3rd base. So, yeah. It's one of those funny things where, oh, geez, what was I talking about? Biggest mental blank ever, brain fart. Before those adepts went in there. Damn it. I forgot what I was talking about. Anyways, I'll remember. I'll remember in a minute. Probe's going to move out, take that 3rd base over there. Oh, careful. Probe in the open. Does get the 3rd Nexus down, which is the most important part. Oh, 10 pull. Yeah, 10 pull. SKillous didn't check if Lambo was early pulling or not. He saw the drone coming down, and he just went, oh yeah, you're going hatchery first. And he immediately did his 2nd chrono and probes. One of the things I realized, because I did a little opener guide, right? And I showed how to defend the 10 pools. And I was always doing the 2nd chrono immediately. And it was pretty tight defending 10 pool. I had to pull 4 probes and do a lot of micro because the 2nd zealot's so delayed. Because you don't have any chronos. Like, your zealots take forever to get out. And even your first zealot isn't there in time for the first Zerglings. You have to block with probes for like just 2 seconds. So it's this weird thing where like SKillous is doing the greedier build. And I realized after, and the comments were pointing out, they're like, wait, why not hold back the 2nd chrono until you confirm? And I was like, oh yeah, that's a good point. That's actually like, that makes defending this so much easier. I was showing the hard mode version of defending where you've been a greedy Protoss player, immediately double chronoed. And then you've put yourself in a harder spot. Now look at this. Look how early this pressure is, guys. This feels even earlier than the previous game. 4 sentries and Adept moving out. He does have 4 gateways. I'd love this to be a fake out. He's going for a forge. You've got to be careful. You have to keep these units together. Okay, he's going to go forwards. And look at this. 3 roaches, 6 Zerglings. And this is not a real pressure. He did bring a probe out. And he's gonna, I would love him to just hide the probe on the right and then later on warp in some like random adepts. But for now, he's making more stalkers, which is interesting. Is he worried about Lambo all inning perhaps? Because I feel like there should be a Twilight or some sort of follow-up tech. And SKillous right now, he's kind of in this halfway space. There we go. Okay, I was like, where's that Twilight, brother? He's got 500 gas. I feel like maybe that got forgotten. I'm not sure. He's building stalkers here right now. By the way, guys, this series is commentated by 2 of the greatest Zergs in the world, Cyril and Raynor. So we're going to have a little clip at the end of this series to share from their post-game analyses, which is going to be very high level, and just kind of show you guys the immense analysis of the best pro gamers in the world. I think Carsten was casting with them as well, so lovely trio. Michael dancing around, Queen's pushing them back. 4th base, you can see, very delayed. And look at all these Ravages he's had to make. But impressively, most of these Zerglings, not that many Ravages because of the sentry heavy play. It's just a few Ravages. But it did force Lambo to delay his roach speed, delay his, he's now going +1 melee, and it's slowed down his build-up. So I like the way SKillous has kind of slowed him down. This is very early Legacy of the Void. There was a lot of Protoss would basically do pressures, purposely trying to make the Zerg invest in a lot of roaches. Roaches being less efficient kind of garbage tier units. And then you build an army that counters those. So you'd be okay to be down a little bit on, you know, workers or whatever army supply. You don't really care, because if they commit to Ravager Bane, that's not a long-term army. It's a very short-term army, and if you get enough Storm, Immortals, Archons, Ravager Bane efficiency just falls off a cliff. So I really like this play for SKillous. One of the things SKillous does sometimes have issues with, though, we saw his micro eating a lot of biles in the previous games, being a little bit, you know, I'd say inattentive to his army, maybe not as familiar with the rallying of the units. Look at that, gets a Ravager, that's nice. 5th base is on the way, 12 more workers, Infestation Pit coming in. And Lambo's been forced into a bit of an awkward spot. Now, SKillous doesn't have a 4th base, so it's not the end of the world. But I do remember these minerals, they're going to be about 2 minutes later to mine out. These minerals about 2 minutes later to mine out. The thing is, what's going to hurt a Protoss a lot if you're in kind of like a semi-low economy game later on is these gases will mine out a lot faster. That's obviously many minutes away from mattering, but if this game turns into like a scrappy, down and dirty one, I've always talked about that gas change where the gases only have 2,000 rather than 2,500 or 2,250 on 12 workers. That affects Protoss in PvZ a lot, because in scrappy games where both players' economies get gutted, often it's the Protoss being like, oh, I still have gas on my original 3 bases. I can make another 8 Archons. Against a Zerg who's like scrambling to get like 20 more Zerglings out, and the Archon's obviously a very well-rounded unit. But this 4th is so late. I gotta say, SKillous, I don't mind the style, but he's looking a little cowardly right now. And I I mean, it makes sense because he's up against Ravager Bane and it's a trash comp, but he's only got 6 High Templar. I'd like to see 8 High Templar if he's going to play this style. And also, he only just warped them in not that long ago. So they don't have double storm yet. There's a crucial point, guys, is when he gets another 57 energy on these High Templar. When he gets double storm, he goes from 6 to 12 storms, or in this case, I guess his energy recharge shows 7 to 12. That is such a crucial point. If Lambo can trade and then kill all these High Templar before then, that's massive. And no, SKillous. He's misclicked his High Templar into the middle of the map. SKillous! Oh my god, what is this misclick, brother? Brother! No! Okay, he recalls them back. His army's trying to move back. I was saying he needs 8 High Templar. And then I was like, well, 6 might do it if he gets a second storm, but then he moves his High Templar forward. Like I said, he's been a little inattentive with his army this tournament. His builds have been immaculate, but his army attention has not quite been there. He did save the High Templar. They're now back on the front. The Oracles are helping out. Canceling the 4th is not the end of the world, but there's only 4 Immortals on this map. Where are they? 2 of them were trapped in behind the natural wall off, apparently, but he holds on. If he can rebuild the 4th, take the gases, I think he's in an okay spot. He's got to be careful. No. He's moving his High Templar into the Banelings. Okay, luckily the High Templar did not quite move into those Stasis Banelings. Dude, if he moved his High Templar on top of the Stasis Banelings as they popped out and they killed those High Templar, I would have lost my mind. Spire's coming in here. Lambo still has another Remax. And there's not enough High Templar with energy. Yeah, he's got to keep energy recharging. He's got 1 full High Templar in there and needs Archons now. The problem is without Warp Gates, he can't make Archons very well. 4th base does get cancelled. Good storm there. Decent second storm as well. The Zealots are going a bit inefficient, and right now is where you really want Zealots warping into counterattack. But you can tell he's still not made Warp Gates at this stage. I do think he should have made Warp Gates, because warping in Archons is really important to beef up this army, and you don't want to rally High Templar to make Archons. It takes a bit too long in a chaotic situation like this. You're just going to rally them in and die, and you also want Zealots to counterattack or run around the map and counter rather than fighting front on, because Zealots head on into Banelings is very weak. So I think SKillous, don't get me wrong, often it's after you build your 4th when you want to transform to Warp Gates when you're playing this defensive style, but I think he is, number 1, throwing his High Templar away was a huge mistake. He should have been out front and able to defend the 4th the first time. If all of his High Templar were with his army, that's a crucial mistake, but now to recover from that, you can see he's trying to make High Templar. These are going to take 24 seconds to build, and then he's got to grab them from the rally and merge them into Archons. This is one of the hardest things to get used to doing as a Protoss player if you're committed to this gateway style. It's really hard to do. We'll see if he can manage to gather it. A few Banelings trying to go in the left side. He's got cannons there. He should be fine on that side. These Zealots will charge in. A few Zealots dying on Banelings is not the end of the world. They are the least important unit, but it's a High Templar getting caught in the open, and of course, they are getting jumped on and surrounded. And all of his High Templar go down to some Ling Bane. That's a lovely catch. I think this should have been an okay game for SKillous. It still might, to be fair. SKillous, he forced Lambo into that crappy Ravager Ling Bane army. And actually, dude, has he survived? He's got 5 Immortals. He's got double Robo going now. He does have double Robo pumping Immortals. 1 in the main, 1 in the natural. His 4th is up. He can transfer probes there from the main. He's survived. And there's no Great Aspire. There is a Great Aspire. There is Corruptors coming. That might be a game winner then. You can overwhelm Broodlords with Storm. So cool thing about, you guys know that I call it the new Storm. I know it came out a season ago, but the new Storm. So if the Broodlords are over here, you run past as the Protoss player, and if he chases you with Broodlords cannot chase through Storms because Storm is so big and its duration is so long now. If you get between a Zerg Broodlord army and their base, you can basically just move through their whole base, killing all their production, and they can't run you down with the Broodlords unless they land like a fungal or get like a surround with ground units as well. So this is like it's a very rare interaction, but it's one of the funniest to watch. I kind of hope we see it in this game because it's just, there's not much that actually shoots up in this army. There's no blink. Often you want to add blink in. Oh, no, he started with blink this game. Never mind. He does have blink left over from early on, which is actually a good help. And he's got +2 armor, which really helps against those Broodlings as well. He's got 3/3 on the way against the +3 melee. Adrenal Zerglings are there. Archons and Oracles will defend. And look at this. Zealots starting to come in from the right side. He's finally transformed to Warp Gates, has SKillous. He's also got Zealots down here in the bottom left. He sees the Broods. This is so good because he's got plenty of time to react now. He should be able to defeat this by going around with his army. And, well, he's got to be careful. Yeah, you see, this is the zoning storms. One of them does go down. Got to try and move around. And, oh my gosh, SKillous, his High Templar left hanging out again. He's going to lose them all. Oh my gosh, they were just standing there. The Stalkers are going to blink forward. They'll get 1 Broodlord, but he doesn't have the numbers. And he's kind of cornering himself. SKillous, he's putting himself in a corner. He's got to get away from the Broods. He can't be letting them chip at him. The Zealots are doing a good job on the other side, but he's not. Okay, oh, he's trying to bait them in and go forward. He gets, oh, he's going to start one-shotting. Never mind, there's no support for the Broods. It's fine, is it? But a lot of Stalkers will go down. The High Templar coming forward, the rest of the army. There's no Banelings left. There's no Infestors. It's a pure Roach Ling army. I mean, this is a disaster for Lambo. He's still stuck in the early mid-game. So even though the Broods are a real nice unit here, they've got +3. They do decent damage. And there's just no real scary support for them. No Lurkers, no Ultras. Often Ultras can be really nice because they blink forward. You land a Fungal, your Lings butcher them, but you've got to be really good in your stutter step with those Broods because you're always going to lose one on the initiation blink. The Infestors only now coming out. Lambo's realizing without those, the 2-2 Stalkers, or 3-2 now, about to be 3-3, are more than enough. I feel like Skillus's High Templar babysitting's been off this game, but doesn't matter. He understood that with those upgrades, those Stalkers could blink forward and isolate while his Zealots were distracting the ground army, and it looks like Skillous is going to win this game. He made a few crucial missteps at various points, but the opening pressure, especially playing with the mind game of what he did in the previous games. Fake pressure game 1, super committed pressure game 2, game 3, semi-committed, just slightly committed. It wasn't completely nothing, but it was more of a fake out. It was basically a fake out, but he got the reaction from Lambo. Lambo was afraid of losing again. Comes in with a big surround, does Lambo. Lambo can't deal with that amount of Immortal Archon. Now, obviously, Fungal Bile does look nice. He's got Microbial Shroud as well, but it's such a ball of Immortal Archon. Even if you somehow manage to clear this army, the follow-up is obviously still there. 4-base Protoss against 4-base Zerg, and that's going to favor the Protoss player, especially with 3-3 upgrades. +3 armor. Immortals and Zealots become actual superheroes. So often, Zerg are used to playing against a Protoss who's only got +2 or +3 attack, maybe 1 Plasma Shield upgrade. When you get 3-3 Zealots and Immortals, they just do not die. They are so powerful. And what a nice game there for Skillous. Gets a 2-1 victory over Lambo. Alright guys, so here we have Cyril and Raynor learn how gateways work. During this entire cast, to give you guys context, it was Cyril, Raynor, and Harstem casting. And Cyril and Raynor were like, oh, Skillous is screwing up. Why is he not making warp gates? He keeps forgetting to make warp gates. Wow. The warp gates don't auto-transform now, so he just keeps forgetting. Is he a noob? Is he stupid? And Harstem was kind of just confused. He's like, didn't really correct them. He was just kind of like, I don't know. I think maybe he's doing it on purpose. And so now here in the interview with Skillous on the couch, we get to see a fun little interaction.
It's just...
Don't you think you morphed the gateways too late?
Me?
Yeah.
No, I think that's the part of
He's
the
like,
plan.
what?
I think
No.
I just actually think that normal gateways are OP. It's just very difficult to use, or like not very difficult, but it's difficult to use. You have to.
Well, why would you not morph them if you have the cash for it? What's the advantage?
Because I mean, okay, PvZ it's a bit shaky, but for example with PvT, like you just literally have twice as much production. It's 40%, so it's almost twice. So you have 4 gateways, but it's actually 8.
Wait, really? That's
Wait,
how it
gateways
works?
are better than warp gates?
Yeah, way better.
Why did you say
Well,
that?
why didn't you say that?
I was asking the whole series why you were not morphing. and
Well,
it was
I
like,
thought you
oh,
guys read the patch notes at
No,
least.
we
what?
didn't.
No, we read the
You
forces.
guys didn't know.
We knew
Force
about the
it.
Oh my
Morpheus,
God.
but not that gateway.
We're
But they're
not
better than
getting...
actual warp
Yeah,
gates?
way better.
You didn't know.
No, I didn't know.
40%.
Yeah,
but
I was the whole game. I was like, oh man, why isn't he morphing them? And the Kevin was just not saying anything.
No, because it's like in the patch notes.
Yeah,
Why
but
would-
I don't know.
That's a big thing.
I don't know how to
Yeah.
read.
I don't know how to read, I think, is the best assessment there of Raynor and Cyril. They did not read the patch notes, or they only read the Zerg section, guys. I do love as well that they're like, what the hell, Kevin? Like, why wouldn't you correct us? And he's just like, I don't know. I figured you guys know how to read. Like, what the hell? I just thought, I'm not gonna argue with the authorities over here. GG, well played. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that series. Don't forget to check out the Patreon. Links down below in the description. Support if you want to. We really appreciate those who already are. Big thanks to Peden and Dragosar and Oko H, our conductors of the D-Town Express, as well as everybody else here on the Wall of Bacon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting. We'll see you guys next time. Goodbye and good night.